Evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I'm going to get into something that is real. Now, I might not get many views, might not get many subscribers. That's okay, because here on the 411 Talk Zone radio show, I'm doing events, talking about issues that I see every day. And the big one is phone scams. Now, how many of you have checked out your cell phone lately and you find many spam calls? And if you have the spam blocker, it doesn't work necessarily, because you have individuals constantly calling you from different numbers. I had one the other day contact me through my text. They also contact you through email. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you how individuals get tricked with spam calls. It's very important. Fair use. What everybody does. Check out this video. Excuse me for the ad, but I'm not a CNBC fan, but when they put some information out, as long as it's not politics, I'll watch it. Fair use.
Earth is full of color. Now, going green is too. With thread knit from 100% recycled plastic bottles. Comfortable, washable, stylishly sustainable. Rothy's, green in every color.
It was a normal day. I was sitting in the kitchen, puzzling. The phone rang, I answered it.
Hello?
A person hysterically crying on the phone said, "I've been in a car accident. I have a broken nose and a split lip. Greg, is that you?" He said, "Yes." He said, "You need to call my lawyer." Gave me a number and a name. He said, "Please don't tell anybody." I said, "Please let me call your father, please." He said, "No, please don't call Daddy. I'll explain later." He said, "You need to call my lawyer. You need to get me out of here." And he gave me his telephone number and name. I called the public defender, who said he hit a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant, and she had a broken wrist. The good thing was she didn't lose the baby. She's stable. He said in order to get him out, I needed to get $8,000. And he said it needed to be in cash. They said, "Don't call anybody. You can't tell anybody." Drove to the bank, got the money. Then I called back. I gave them everything they needed. He said he would see if they had a courier to pick up the money. They told me to put it into a shoebox, and the courier walked up the driveway and he took the money, threw it in the back seat, and he left. Then I waited. I thought it would take time for the judge to let my grandson out. So I waited for a little while, and I tried to call my grandson after a couple hours to reach him. I didn't reach him. He called me finally, and I said, "When did you get out?" And he said, "What? What are you talking about?" And that's when I knew. I was so emotional and shaken that I wasn't thinking at all. I lost $8,000, which was almost half of my savings.
And this sort of thing does happen, even on some of these dating profiles where you have all the Nigerian scams going on. Now, this is very serious out here, because Americans lose billions of dollars. And this is why I tell you, don't give all your information out to anybody. Like I said yesterday, I had somebody send me a text message from a 647 number. And they said they had withdrawn right around $470 from my account for some helmet I didn't even buy. And then I called the number, and here's where I got them. They sent me the text from a 647 number, but they told me to call an 805 number. And when I called that number, yes, I laid the wood into my custom out, like I always do all of them. They hung up. I called them right back. And they sent me a 4-digit code and said, don't share this with anybody. They said it was Amazon. Now, I don't want to get stereotypical here, but when I get a number of these spam calls, it's always somebody with a foreign accent. Now, again, this has nothing to do with Pakistanians or Indians, but there are a number of these scams coming out of those countries. And you can even throw Africa in there. You even have collection scams, individuals posing as a collection company. And there are companies out there who set up in the garage. They're utilizing particularly elderly for Medicare. There are a number of scams going out there for it's tax time. And a lot of these calls, they may call one time on your cell phone, but they hang up. See, this lady right here gave out all of her information. And the individuals they go after are the elderly and some individuals like children who aren't smart enough to understand what's going on. But in this video, I want you all to get a lesson on what happens when you give your information out to individuals you don't know, because there are a lot of hackers out here. There are a lot of phone scammers out here. There are a lot of individuals that are trying to utilize your information to get something from you because they're too lazy to work. And a number of them have time on their hands, and all they want to do is play games with your money in your life. Fair use. Let's continue.
In a nutshell, any inbound communication that tries to defraud people of money, whether that is a voice scam, which we call a phone call, which we call vishing, or it is a text message, a fraudulent text message, or a scam text message, which we call smishing, SMS phishing. They look very similar to what we've come to know in terms of email spam and phishing, but they're much more immediate. And actually, there's a very tight call to action, which is why the phone is the perfect device to attack.
In 2021, the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, received about 1.8 million fraud complaints. In about 36% of those complaints, the contact method began with a phone call. Phone scams come in many forms, but officials have categorized the most common ones: imposter scams, debt relief or credit repair scams, business and investment scams, charity scams, extended car warranties, free trials, loan scams, prize and lottery scams, and travel and timeshare scams. 82-year-old New Jersey resident Libby Moore became the target of an imposter scam in September.
Normally, I don't answer the phone. This time I did. And the phone, I did not know who was on the phone. Most of the times, I never answer the phone unless I know who's calling me.
Phone scams have been on the rise. As of May 2022, about 70 million Americans have fallen victim to a phone scam in the past 12 months.
So we saw an increase from $30 billion to $40 billion lost to American consumers based on phone scams. One is that it's very cheap, right? It's very cheap to set up an automatic dialer and to plug a bunch of phone numbers into it, whether they're random or they are very intentional by geography or by demographic, and place millions of phone calls in a very short period of time, because it's a numbers game, right? We know that not everybody's not going to be susceptible, but you don't have to get that many. I think the second reason is that The mobile device is ubiquitous. Everybody has one, and we all spend far too much time looking at them. And that's all demographics.
Fair use.
You want me to buy $30,000 worth of Target cards, Mark?
You might have seen videos around the internet of content creators who are sort of scamming the scammers.
Let me get this straight. It's that if I don't get you the money today, you're gonna lose your job.
Hey, I'm Kit Boga, and I spend the majority of my time trying to convince scammers that I'm the perfect victim. In general, scam baiting is becoming the perfect target for a scammer, baiting them into believing that they should spend all of their time and effort focusing on you. These guys will make thousands of calls trying to get somebody who will say, yes, I will let you on my computer, or I will go buy gift cards, or whatever their scam is. And so my job, or a scam baiter's job, is to become that perfect victim who seems like they're going to comply with everything. But in the end, we are just collecting information and reporting it to like fraud professionals or otherwise wasting their time. Almost every scammer that I've talked to will give some sense of urgency, and they will kind of make demands as if you have to respond right now, you have to listen to everything that they're saying. They'll often tell you not to hang up the phone.
No,
Don't hang up, you have to do this right now. Don't talk to any of your family members. They're trying to take advantage of the moment.
All I heard was, you're not allowed to tell anybody. And, you know, if I had just called one person, they could have talked me down. We could have rationalized it. I wasn't thinking at all. I was just shaken. My whole body was shaken, and I was emotional.
If they have your attention and you're trusting them, they have to make their scam happen immediately, because they know that if you hang up and talk to someone else in your family, or you stop and you start to think about what's happening, often you will realize that something doesn't add up. So yeah, a common thread is the urgency and the threats.
My job is at stake because it was my mistake. Instead of putting up the number correctly, I entered the number wrong.
And, you know, that's happened to me as well. You even have individuals that are posing as FBI. Now, you know it's against the law to impersonate any type of law enforcement officer. Now, something else that's going on, you know, you have the phishing, the vishing, the smishing, and, you know, everybody needs to learn a little bit of cyber security. And, you know, a lot of this takes place when you have information that you're giving out online. Let me give you another big scam out here. Some of these scams with payday loans. You can get payday loans online. Here's the problem. Once your information goes out, it is sold to a lot of these other companies, and you're going to get calls, and you don't know which ones are true and which ones are false. So let me give you my suggestion. My suggestion is this: when you get one of these numbers, look it up. And now some of them are legit and some of them aren't. Now, again, where the scam comes in is, say they want to call you about your computer. That's another scam. They didn't mention it in this video. They'll tell you, okay, we need $299 or $300 because we found that your computer's been hacked. Well, what they try to do, they try to throw you off. And something else that they will throw in there is they may put a link out there that they want you to click on. And then when you click on that link, your computer is completely infected. In fact, they used to have, it looked just like Google. It was called Rocket. And generally, when it comes to cleaning everything out of your computer, it could cost a lot of money, but you have people, when it comes to your computer, impersonating Microsoft. And most of them are foreigners. Now, again, I'm not knocking foreigners, but what they are getting you to do is to commit yourself. Let me tell you what happened to me back in 2017 when I lived in Portage, Indiana. Somebody had gotten into my AT&T account. And here's where you know you can find out the scam here. Look for the spelling. Look for the hyphen in so many emails. Also, look for the urgency. If they're asking you for money right then and there, for the most part, it's a scam. Now, many of us today carry around our cell phones, and the cell phone is one of the biggest vulnerabilities out here because most people don't use Lookout or any other virus protection for their cell phone. And of course, there is spam blocker when it comes to phone calls. Like I said before, the bottom line is individuals are going to call you from other numbers. Now, I have a Pennsylvania number and I get spam calls from Pennsylvania. I've gotten some from Ohio, and generally they'll call once and they'll hang up. And sometimes they'll call. They may leave a voicemail. And generally the voicemails that I've gotten were for extended warranties. I had some for houses. I don't even own a house. They have some about Social Security. I mean, they're asking me about Medicaid and Medicare. I'm not even qualified to get that yet. They're also asking you about your credit. And not only do scams come via phone, they also come in the mail as well. And what I'm teaching you all here is to be aware of what goes on out here. Be aware of who you give your information to. Because once your information falls into the wrong hands, this is how you get scammed for thousands and even millions of dollars. Let's continue. Fair use.
Contrary to popular belief, younger Americans appear more likely to lose money to a phone scam than their older counterparts. Also, men are more likely to be scammed than women.
I do think it's a very common misconception that only the older generation gets scammed. I see it in YouTube comments or in conversations with people, but I get emails and messages probably every day of someone falling for a scam, and most of those messages are younger people, and they'll tell me their stories about whether it was a dating scam or some of them are these tech support scams. And a common thread is they were busy, they weren't really paying attention to the script or what was going on, and they fell for it. And so I think it can happen to anyone.
And I'm surprised that young people are getting scammed because I find that young people don't trust the way we do from my generation. I think they're less trusting.
One, they really are attached to their phones. Two, because so much of this is based on social engineering, the younger generation has exchanged convenience for privacy, and they share so much about their lives on social media that it's very easy to go in and say, okay, I know where he went to school, I know who his connections are, I know where he works, I know what he buys, right? And so if you think about the ability for social engineers to get that type of information and target individuals, it's much easier in that set.
Let me stop the video right there. And this is what happens when you're going in there using Facebook, you're going in there using Instagram, when you're supplying all of your information onto your social media, you have individuals out there that can grab your information and they can sell it, and they can scam you. They can find different ways to basically take your identity. Now, I know that happened to me one time on Facebook, and I'm not even on Facebook, where there was a white guy. They took all of my information, and his name was Leon Jones. And they were sending out information that I told him, you won $50,000 from Publishers Clearinghouse. I don't even deal with Publishers Clearinghouse. So what I had to do is I had to go back and change everything. And when you make passwords, please, here's what you do. Don't make anything that is a repetition of your name. Utilize a phrase like, you should go home, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. It is harder for individuals to figure out. And also, watch where you go when you are utilizing the internet, because you get what we call adware. You know what adware is? If you're going on your computer, you have individuals that know what sites you've been on. Let me give you an example. Like for me, I get a lot of college websites because I go into different colleges, look for classes, and I'm getting all sorts of email about colleges. That's adware. That means somebody has been tracking my history when I go on the internet. Individuals will do that. They know what you're spending. They know what music you listen to. This is how everybody gets scammed. And when it comes to your phone number, and I used to do telemarketing a long time ago, it used to be that they had a block of numbers that were sold to these companies, and you would just call these numbers. And a lot of times, individuals, they would just, if they don't damn right cuss you out, they're going to hang up the phone on you. Now, again, what's the best solution for these calls? They used to have used to be able to call your government, put your name on a do not call registry list back in the 2000s. That hasn't worked. One thing that technology has done, it may have made lives good for everybody else, but it's also compromised a lot of privacy. And this is what that gentleman was talking about when it comes to young people. They gave up all of their privacy for social media. And this is why there is a problem when it comes to information being sold and individuals' identities are taken. Fair use. Let's continue.
Don't answer the phone, especially if you don't know the number. Let him leave a voicemail if you want, and you can listen to it later.
And when it comes to the texts, do not click on links that are in text messages, right? Make sure, unless you can, it's a very simple thing to do. If you get a text, scroll up and see if you've ever gotten a text from them before.
Ask them for a case number. If it's your credit card company and they're saying there's a problem with your credit card account, ask them for a case number, ask them for their employee ID, and hang up. And then call the number on the back of your credit card. Like, make sure that you know who you're calling. It's so easy for someone to spoof a phone number from your local police department or from your credit card company. So I try to tell people, keep that in mind.
Register with the FTC's do not call list, right? Make sure that you just go to the FTC website. You'll find it very easy if you just search for do not call and register with that on that list. That means nobody that doesn't have a relationship with you, that you haven't consented or given permission to call you, is supposed to be able to call you. Businesses should only be able to call you if they have a relationship with you.
We're vulnerable. I hate the thought that there are people like this in the world that would do something like this. I feel sorry for these people who do this because they are very sad human beings. You stay here.
And like I said, when it comes to all these issues, it's about information. Don't be so gullible out there. You know, one thing about individuals with these spam calls, they're trying to set up some urgency. Now, sometimes you can toy with them, and I've done that as well. And you already know the situation, especially with your credit card. When somebody says, well, my credit card has been charged, you automatically call your bank. And the big one is Amazon. And when I call Amazon, yes, do they have some foreigners at Amazon? Oh, yes. And I said, well, are you guys up in Seattle? See, that's where Amazon is. Now, of course, Amazon has got call centers all over the place. But the bottom line is, when I got that 4-digit number, Amazon has never given me a 4-digit number. And when I told the guy, I said, nah, you guys aren't legitimate because Amazon never sends me a 4-digit number. And I've never had Amazon tell me not to give it to anybody else. The only thing that I do not compromise is my password. So, bottom line is, I don't feel sorry for what happens to these individuals. If they get caught, if they die, good riddance, because they're playing with people's lives every day. I mean, you check your phone, you check your email, you see how many text messages you get, you see how many phone messages you get, you see how many spam numbers you get, emails. I mean, the biggest ones that I get are ones about warranties. I've gotten some from credit repair, and I've even gotten mail from credit repair. And your information is being sold out there so much, you're going to get some things that you never even thought about, like loans. That's a big one right there. And for some of you who are on the dating sites too, because that's a big scam too. You're all these Nigerians out there. They're asking you for money. Do not help anybody. I did a video a couple of weeks ago on panhandling. Well, you can call these phone scams, you can put that in the same category as panhandling. Because in the end, you have individuals out there that are trying to scam you out of money. And of course, the people who are the most ignorant are the most vulnerable because they don't research into what's going on. I mean, it's common sense out there. Generally, I tell people, don't answer the phone. And sometimes they will use somebody else's phone number to call you because I've actually called that number back and the person who had that phone number answered the phone and they'll tell me, well, I didn't call you. I said, your phone number is being used by scammers. Watch out. So that means the person has gotten a legitimate phone number to call you, but it wasn't this actual person. You're getting spoofed by somebody else. And what's happening is now there's some double trouble. The phone number is compromised, and now they're trying to get information from me, but now my phone number's been compromised. And because we live in society where we have foregone most of our privacy, it's going to continue happening. And if you look at everything, these calls continue to rise. And not only do you get spam calls during the week, you even get them on a weekend. Absolutely gotten them on a weekend as well. Now, I have my logo out, quality control inspection services, and twice I've gotten individuals that are telling me that somebody's trying to use my logo. Well, first of all, I already trademarked my logo because a trademark is good for 10 years. So they're trying to tell me, and they're good at talking because I actually talked to somebody from the person that made my logo for me. I created the design, but I hired them to do the graphics for me. Then I bought the copyright right back, and they tell me that, oh, well, somebody's trying to use your logo. If you don't sign up, we're going to give your logo away. And I found out this was a scam. I said, okay, what's the scam, buddy? And they slip. Sometimes you got to listen to people because they're going to have a Freudian slip. And they were basically trying to sell me their logo services. I said, that's what I have an attorney for. You don't do anything without an attorney. And I sent the information back to my intellectual property attorney. And my attorney looked everything up for me. And my attorney brought back that it was a scam. You see, when you dot your I's and you cross your T's, you're less likely to be scammed out here. Now, again, I had my AT&T account hacked. But you want to know where they messed up? They put the wrong address and they spelled my name wrong. And this is what you have to look for. You know, scams come in different varieties. What I just showed you was a phone scam. So all I'm going to tell you is be careful. Because if you have your eyes and ears open, there are going to be some instances where people slip up. Look at the spelling. Listen to the dialect. Listen closely, because some of them could even fake an accent as well. Also, you ask them certain questions. Who's your employer? You know, I had like I said, a lawyer. Well, he said he was a lawyer. I said, what's the name of your law firm? It was on Saturday. He tried to tell me, well, I'll call you back when I get off the toilet. I went and called him back. And he gave himself up because I was going to hold him on that phone until I had enough information. And see, I was getting his information. So you can scam the scammer if you're smart. And I enjoy toying with these individuals because they're not as smart as me. They think they are. You can chop them down like trees. But the bottom line is, you got to stand your ground. You got to know what you're doing. And even with these collection agencies, I had a collection agency call me up and said, well, you took out a payday loan back in 2014 in Pennsylvania. They tried to tell me that. Now, here's the problem. I knew the law in Pennsylvania. They said, well, you can go online and get it out. No, Pennsylvania won't let you go online. There's an algorithm that says this state does not do payday loans, just like here in Indiana. Now, I'm just giving you some examples of what happened to me, because it can happen to everybody, but I was smart enough to nail it. That's what you have to do. And I want you all to take a look at this video. Share it. Because it could happen to you. You're vulnerable. And in the comment section, share some of your experiences. Each one teach one. Because the scams are going to get worse. Because you have a number of individuals who are desperate for money. They don't want to work, but what they want to do, they want to get all your cheese that you work for. And in the end, you live one time. Have knowledge, because knowledge is power. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what you just heard, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some educational content, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. On that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, if you cannot find the QCIS channel or the 411 Talk Zone radio show channel on YouTube, you can check both of those channels out on Twitter. Now, when it comes to the QCIS channel, that channel is an educational channel, so I take it one step further. You can find that channel on my LinkedIn page. Because in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.